Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel. Today I just want to discuss how my New Year's resolution for 2024 ended up panning out, as well as diving deeply into what my resolution is going to look like moving forward into 2025 because, well, new year, new me, new resolution, and I feel like this new resolution isn't so much a horse of a different color as much as it is a horse of a completely new color spectrum. Let me just start by saying that, like most people, I had every single intention of making 2024 about self-improvement. More specifically, I really wanted to lean into this idea that the entire world was not a never-ending, circling cesspool of chaos and doom. And I felt like my resolution back in December of 2023 really reflected that. Like, it was pretty simple, just try not to be so negative all the time. It wasn't like I had plans to climb Mount Everest or do hard 75. Like, at that point in time, maybe it was delusion, but I felt like it was a really achievable goal. For 1 year, just 1 year of my life, I wanted to be the type of person that saw the glass as half full, because even though my glass was unrecognizably cracked by the time we got to 2024, I've always found people who see the glass as half full as really, really wholesome, and I wanted to be wholesome. So I even wrote it down on a little notepad what my goal was for the year and my resolution of trying to be less negative, because I read somewhere that that's something that really highly motivated people do, and I wanted to be a highly motivated person. And for a few hours on January 1st, it actually looked like this could be it. This could be my year that everything turned out the way it was supposed to be. All my ducks were in a line and everything was coming up, Casey. And then by January 12th, that optimism, that resolution, that hope was a dead fish in the water. Like, there was no coming back from it. So let me walk you through what happened. So the first sign that my New Year's resolution might not be a realistic goal for me personally to achieve came about on January 1st when my coworker / best friend Nate, who I swear is more cryptid than he is man, showed up to work with a hangover so potent that I swear it could have been classified as a controlled substance. So Nate spent his entire morning shift arguing with the anatomy, keyword being anatomy, MRI scan, and I'm not even sure what he was doing in the MRI room, considering it was New Year's Day, and I'm 90% sure that we had no patients scheduled for an MRI, but he was in there, and he was insistent that the MRI scanner was out to get him. And then I went for lunch. I left the clinic to go get lunch, and I came back 20 minutes later to find him sitting behind the reception desk, threatening the EHR with a box knife. So as I'm taking the box knife away from him, I start to realize that maybe my desire to see the more positive things in life was already beginning to crack. But nonetheless, I persevered and I pushed on, which in hindsight, looking back, might have been a mistake. I should have just accepted defeat right then and there, and it would have made life a lot more easier. Then came January 3rd, otherwise known as the day that a possum broke into the staff room, stole my leftover pizza, and somehow managed to lock herself in the staff bathroom. And I tried to coax it out using an old stale biscuit and reason, because, well, that's what a positive person would do, right? But it just ended up with me wielding a broom like a medieval knight, trying to defend myself as the little gremlin, tried to claw out my eyes, all the while screaming like an unholy banshee. And then on the 8th, at approximately 3:13 a.m., and I do remember it approximately, Nate and I were working the night shift, and we were sitting in the reception hall when we heard a sound coming from the mortuary, kind of like a deep, resonant humming sound, sort of what you would expect if a refrigerator was trying to impersonate a Gregorian chant, that kind of thing. So Nate, of course, was the one who volunteered to get up and go and investigate because, well, he has no self-preservation instincts. So he gets up and he goes, and he's gone for about 10 minutes before he comes back. And when he gets back, he informs me with all the urgency in his voice, as if he's trying to tell me that the local store has a sale on pool floats going on, that there is a head on the autopsy table. I'm like, what do you mean there's a head, like a human head? And I was praying, and I don't pray, but I was absolutely hoping and praying that he would tell me no. But he just looks at me like a minute and is like, well, it's not a giraffe head. So that's pretty much how my second week of positivity started, with a disembodied head appearing out of thin air. And so if you're wondering what we did, we pretty much just called Deputy McIntosh, and she showed up about an hour later and took a look at it and just told us to keep it on ice and she could get a hold of CSI and they would come down from the city and deal with it. Like I said earlier, by the 12th of January, my New Year's resolution was pretty much DOA. Dead on arrival, no chance of resuscitation. And that did not change any when a man wearing only a trench coat, and I remind you, we're in the Australian Outback, so by mid-January it's sweatier than Satan's ballsack out here, was dropped off by the police in a full-blown state of psychosis. And do you think the police stayed around to help us at all? Like how they did. They did absolutely nothing. They just dropped him and ran. And they could have stayed and helped if they wanted to. There is more police in this town than we technically need. Like, we are a small town with a very surprisingly big police force. Like, more than we should need. And they could have stayed and helped, but they didn't. So it was just me and Ash. And we somehow, between the two of us, managed to wrestle with this man who's in a full-blown psychosis into a patient room, help him get undressed and into bed. And the moment that he's in bed, he turns to us and says a too kind a word, orders us to get him 3 hot dogs, as if this is a hotel and we are room service just there to serve him. So I very politely tell him that, this is a hospital, and if you're hungry, I can give you some toast. But if you want anything more substantial than that, you either need to give me money so I can go to the cafe and buy it for you, or you need to wait for the cook to come in tonight and she will cook you something and serve it to you. And at this, he lost his absolute mind, and he stands up and he pulls from a very private orifice a live frog and chucks it at my face. And all the while, he is screaming, "The king has spoken." And that's when I knew beyond all doubt that being a less negative person and trying to see the more positive in life was just not a realistic goal for me. So anyway, December has once again rolled around on us without warning, and today I am sitting down for some very honest reflection and no more delusional aspirations and affirmations about how I'm going to try to see the positive in people and see the good in people and be a more positive person myself. No. This year I have broken out the notebook again, and I have written down only one thing, one question, which is, what is one thing that I can do this year to actually help me survive? The answer is pretty obvious. It is not meditation or gratitude journaling or those apps that send you motivational quotes every morning or a juicer or even 75 hard. No. What I need is something reliable, something tangible. So here we are. My new year, my new me. So what's the resolution this year, 2025? I'm going to buy a gun. And let me just say that this was not my first decision. I considered many, many options before landing on this choice. For example, I considered a baseball bat, but it's just too short and not helped by the fact that I'm short. And I considered a machete, but it's just way too messy, and pepper spray, which is just too optimistic and not to mention way too hard to get in Australia. So what really sold me on this idea was a conversation that I had with Nate a few nights ago, because, well, that in itself is probably a sign that this is a really bad idea, but I'm just going to roll with it anyway because he was so sweet to me that night. Nate is very rarely sweet. He's a lot of things. He's the ultimate ride or die friend, but he's very rarely sweet. But he was sweet this night. So I was sitting in the back hallway having a complete existential crisis, and he walked in and he had a can of spray whipped cream. And he just plopped down on the floor next to me and he handed me his whipped cream. He's like, "You okay, dude?" I was like, "Yeah." Because, what can you say? I'm having an existential crisis. And I was like, I just feel like I'm living in a cosmic joke right now, which, newsflash, I am literally living in a cosmic joke, but that's a conversation for a different video. So I turned to him like, "Do you ever feel like you're living in a cosmic joke?" And this is why I love him. He goes, "Yeah, of course I do." And he said it as if it was the most natural and normal thing for a person to experience. And he goes, "That's why I always carry this with me." And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out this tiny little rusted revolver that looks like it's been scavenged from the wreck of the Titanic. But Nate is still very much Nate, because when I told him about my resolution, he just gave me the most inquisitive look I've ever seen in my life, and I thought he was about to tell me the most sagely advice that has ever come out of a human mouth. But what he ended up saying to me was just, "Dude, why stop at one? I think you should dual wield." This is real life. This is not Call of Duty. But he's like, "No, dude, I seriously think you should get out the flamethrower," because we have a flamethrower. My stalker, my real stalker, not Dress Levesque. I just call Dress Levesque my stalker for the fun of it, pretty much. But dressed is just dressed. He's really dressed. But my real stalker, Ronald, he gave us a flamethrower a few years ago when Elon Musk came out with them, and he gave me one. He also recently prepaid for a year's supply of Starlink subscription, so I think he just really likes Elon Musk. But Ronald is a completely different video. In fact, Ronald is a series of videos. The point I'm trying to make is that Nate's optimism is both inspiring and unsettling at the same time. Here's the big crux of the issue. I'm not a gun girl. I do not like them. I do not like being around them. I do not like holding them, even though people keep handing them to me all the time for some reason. I think they're loud. I think they're heavy. And I know for a fact that I am more liable to shoot off my foot than I am to ever shoot an enemy. Not to mention the fact that they come with so many rules. Don't draw one unless you plan on using one. Don't aim one at someone unless you plan on shooting them. Don't shoot someone unless you plan on killing them. But unfortunately for me, a very strong gun disliker, I've ended up in a situation where I would rather have one and not need it than not have one and end up cornered in the staff room again, armed with only a broom and sheer desperation. Besides, it's not like I'm planning on going full Rambo. I'm thinking of something like really sleek and modern and small, something that says, I can protect myself, but I also really, really enjoy westerns. It's not exactly the most aspirational goal, and under any other circumstances, I wouldn't have it, but at the moment, it just feels right. It feels practical, and most importantly, it feels like an aspiration that I can actually keep this year. Because if there's one bitter pill that I've had to learn to swallow while working here at the clinic, is that not all of life's chaos can be fought effectively through optimism. Anyway, this is Casey signing off, so Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and remember, stay safe out there.